Welcome back. Joe Jansen as well as Ben Brown rejoining us. Well, Joe, Mexico says they will continue to buy corn for U.S. from the U.S. for livestock feed and industrial use. That's despite that ongoing formal dispute over its ban of imports of genetically modified corn. We've been talking about that, but is that news or is that already priced in at this point, Joe?
I think that's priced in. I mean, Mexico has been consistently the best export customer for U.S. corn in the past year. A big source of export demand for U.S. corn, and the economics just make sense. I mean, they're geographically proximate to us, and it makes a lot of sense to move feed into Mexico.
Let's switch gears a little bit to wheat and what's going on over in Europe. Ben, Ukraine called on the European Commission this week to take robust action after Polish farmers blockaded the border and opened rail cars to let grain spill out. I mean, as we continue to see this situation, it is amazing to see how much grain we are continuing to see move out of Ukraine and Russia.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. The fact that we've seen as much grain get out of the countries the last 2 years is really kind of amazing from a variety of different fronts and different channels. And certainly we've seen this protest and this conflict now starting to emerge with some of the European Union border countries that are accepting this grain, or at least helping channel some of this Ukraine grain to African countries and the rest of the world market, now starting to push back against that supply channel. So as a result, we have baked in, at least maybe into our expectations about grain flows moving forward, starting to reduce some of that exportable supplies out of Ukraine in the years ahead, even though we haven't really seen the war have that big of an impact necessarily on grain flows to date. It has been a little bit, but just the sheer amount of products coming out has been there. We certainly see that starting to taper off in the next couple of years.
And as far as wheat goes, burdensome supplies, Ben, just like we were talking about with corn and soybeans, same situation there?
Well, actually, it's kind of interesting. We actually see supplies for for U.S. wheat starting to tighten, but prices are falling along with all of our other commodities to help build or to buy some feed demand and stuff like that into the mix. But wheat supplies actually are tightening a little bit relative to corn and soybeans that are increasing.
Joe, seeing a lot of talk about managed money or the funds. And, when you look at their position right now, currently in corn and soybeans, are there any signs of them exiting that position, and what impact will or could that have on the markets?
Yeah, I think there's talk that, when the funds bail on this massive short position that they have, that's got to give some support to prices. I think you've got to see something change in the overall market trend. My take is that the funds are mainly momentum traders or trend followers. They're taking that net short position because prices have been declining due to fundamentals. If they exit, I think they'll be met by active selling on the other side. The demand from the U.S. farmer to see some kind of rally and sell into it is going to be pretty strong, and that's not really going to mean that's going to put a cap on the price impact of whatever exit the funds might have for whatever happens with a fund exit.
Yeah, really good point. Okay, Ben, as we're heading into spring now, as I mentioned, a ton of field work going on right now. But what is your message? Bottom line, what's the message for farmers right now?
Well, to be disciplined in what we're doing, right? And that's kind of a concept that we've always had. But in times like this, when we're dealing with low margins and a high interest rate environment, being disciplined and intentional in the decisions that we've made and are making, because that'll relieve a lot of stress, at least down the road.
All right, Ben Brown, Joe Jansen, thank you so much for joining us. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with much more U.S. Farm Report.